Hi, welcome to Artists at Work. I'm Kathleen Harrington, and my guest today is Jeannie Fashionpour. Jeannie is known as the eclectic artist.
Yep.
And she paints acrylic, but mostly she paints encaustics.
Right.
And she's brought some of her beautiful encaustics here today to share with us. I'm going to hold this one up, Jeannie.
Mm-hmm.
This is so dimensional. Can you tell me a little bit how you came to this?
That subject or encaustic?
The subject.
The subject?
Yeah.
I love nests, and I think they're good luck. So whenever I can, I experiment with color and texture and, the different shapes of eggs. I have a lot of blue in my house.
Yeah.
So I made this one blue, and I liked playing with what they call oil sticks, which are oil paint with wax mixed in with it. And it's about the consistency of a lipstick.
Okay.
So after I painted and added texture with my encaustic, after it was cool, I rubbed the oil stick all over it, and it goes into all the cracks and crevices and gives you a lot more dimension.
Gives you dimension. Well, look at the dimension on this piece.
This one is done with nails. My husband was tearing apart the house next door, remodeling it, and it's 200 years old, and the nails are all hand cut.
I love this piece.
And I thought they deserved to survive, so I made a nest out of them, and I call it Rust Belt Bird's Nest.
I love it. Now, what are the eggs made out of?
The eggs, actually, I bought a candy mold. In that one, I hand formed them. I just molded them by hand, but I didn't think they were dimensional enough, so I finally found a candy mold that was the right size, and I just molded them.
So creative, very creative. Use what you have and make up the rest.
Right.
Is that how it goes?
Right.
The story with the nails I love, because on your website, which is your name, .com or JLFashionpower.com. Okay. You have a piece that's called the Cleveland, the Rust Belt Town?
Rust Belt Garden.
And it incorporates a map of Cleveland and Lake Erie and nails, all sorts of rusty nails and fasteners.
Rusty wire and
And it all comes together.
It has actually in the background, there's an old antique photo of the steel mills.
Yeah. I noticed that and I thought this is a perfect piece. Somebody is going to love owning that one. So now we go from nails to, we're going to talk a little bit about your beautiful, let me set this down here, lily pads.
Right. That's the lily pond in the garden.
Okay.
And this one is just water lilies. And I love water lilies, but I never want to have a lily pond. Too much maintenance.
Too much maintenance.
Yeah. I mean, I love koi fish too, and I paint them a lot.
Right.
But I have enough animals.
How many are too many?
I have 13 dogs because we raise Newfoundlands.
Okay.
And we can have up to 33 horses. We board horses.
Wow. I noticed again on your website your paintings of nature, the horses, birds, landscapes.
Right.
And you're right there. You've got it all
I
going.
have a very hard time doing abstract because I might start out abstract and I end up putting something in it.
Something else has to go in that's
right.
real, right? Look at this fellow. Is this the newest piece you've done?
Yes. A neighbor of mine, David Harrison, is an amateur photographer, but he's into all the parks all over the state.
Okay.
And since the virus, he's been going out taking pictures everywhere. And this was one of his photos, and I adapted it to an encaustic painting.
I just love that. And we are going to talk about the process of the encaustics and how you do it. And we're going to have a video, too, to show everybody how you go about creating this wax and oil and on wood or on canvas.
This is an encaustic panel.
Okay.
They call it a wood-cradled board.
Okay, yep.
And it's kind of like a canvas, except for there's wood veneer on the surface.
All right.
Because you need a stable surface
for that hot wax. And you pass over it a number of times, don't you? It's not
many layers. Yeah. And depending on if you want to carve into it, the more layers you put on it.
It just gets more fun. Carve into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Full disclosure, I did take your encaustic class, so I understand what you're saying. I'm excited for everybody to see the video so they can see exactly how you go about doing this. But it's pour wax on, carve wax out, add more in, take more out. It's just so much fun.
And every layer has to be fused, so it bonds with the layer beneath it.
Okay.
This dates back to 300 AD.
The use of wax.
The use of encaustic.
Okay.
It was originally used for funerary portraits.
Okay.
And the Vikings actually used it to caulk ships, and then they discovered they could add color. And so some of those beautiful designs on the old Viking ships were done in encaustic.
What I loved is when I did a layer and it wasn't quite right, just add more hot wax and remold it and reshape it and go on from there. Nothing is written in stone, it's written in wax. Right?
Yeah.
What else did you bring us? Tell me a little bit
little ones
about these two little ones.
Right. A lot of times I'll do small ones in a series, and I started a series called Weeds.
Okay.
So I did dandelions, I did milk pods.
Pretty.
A lot of different weeds.
A lot of different weeds. And then you actually draw the weed, or?
Well, what I did with these was I carved into the wax with ceramic tools that are used for cleaning ceramics. And then I added the color for the blooms, and then I smeared the oil stick that we talked about earlier all over it. It goes into the crevices, and then I wipe it off. And that's how we get all the lines in here.
Okay, so they're actually almost etched in.
They are.
They are etched in. There's another piece that you brought that, let me put this down, I love because the clarity of the color. And again, is this, because, where did that go? Oh, it's down here on the floor, yes. Yes. Look at that. The darks and the lights and the beautiful clear colors. That's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, this one's called Seaside. And I love doing ocean or water or sky with the encaustic because encaustic has a translucent effect.
So how many layers would you say were in this piece?
Probably about 10. Okay.
And it's very textured. The weeds look, can I ask, how did you get that texture? Did you actually press?
No, I use the edge of the brush and just build up the wax.
Okay.
And then in other places I carve into it.
Okay. And how long, I want to say a time, how long would it take you to do a piece like this?
Well, when I start, I usually don't stop.
So you go straight through?
I keep going.
The hot wax is hot?
Yes, and with hot wax you have to work fast or it's going to harden up on the brush.
Right, right. Do you teach this method?
Yes.
Yes, let me put that right back down there. And do you teach acrylic painting also, or are you focusing on the encaustic?
I'm focusing on encaustic now. Because there are so many different ways you can approach it, and I feel like every time I do a piece, it's almost like an experiment. This one. This is a photograph that I manipulated on a photo program.
Photo of the horse.
And then I glued it to the board because any surface you work on with wax has to be absorbent. So you either have to use a special gesso on a board that has a lot of tooth to it and is absorbent, or directly on wood or on paper. So that the wax really adheres.
All right.
I did this in a technique they call accretion.
What does that mean? I don't know that term.
It's building up layers that are rough, very textured.
Okay.
So it's almost like dry brushing, only with wax. So when you brush the wax over it, as you keep going and it starts cooling, you get more and more texture.
Got it.
And then I carved into it also.
So the original photo is on the base.
Yes.
And then you added color and wax and texture with wax.
Well, actually, with this one, I just used wax medium, and the color was added with the oil sticks.
In the beginning or at the very end?
At the end.
The very end. Because there is a depth to it, and I was thinking, oh, maybe that color is layers thick. No.
It's just what you get. And also, when you rub in the oil stick, if you spend a lot of time with your bare hand rubbing it, it starts to penetrate into the wax.
So the heat from your hand is actually starting a process, a chemical process, or so you are really part of every painting.
Yeah.
What else did you bring us here? We did this piece. Let me set this up here. You got a little crazy here with your colors.
Yes.
Look at this.
That one is kind of an impressionistic landscape.
Yeah.
But again, I really love doing water and sky. And I had a packet of gold leaf that a friend gave me, the real thing.
I hope the camera picks this up.
Yeah,
this
the real thing.
Gold.
And I burnished some of that into the water. It's called Golden Tide.
When you say burnished, tell me, that's a term that means a specific thing, right?
Well, I take the gold leaf and I put it on top of the wax, and then I rub it in with my thumb. So the heat makes the gold leaf bond to the wax. If you coat over it with wax, in some areas it'll have a matte finish, but if you want it really shiny, you have to bond it gently with.
And it's that rubbing back and forth and pressing in that is burnishing the gold?
Gold's right into the wax, yeah. The wax takes, just like oil paints, it takes about 6 months to cure, and it continues to cure after that. Just every year it gets harder and harder, and you do not get fading with encaustic colors.
If I had this in my home, what advice would you give us? Like, don't hang it near a window?
Well, I wouldn't hang it in direct south-facing sunlight.
Okay.
But just the fact that they've found paintings that were back to 300 AD, it lasts. Once it's really cured, it's pretty stable.
Pretty stable.
But like if somebody just buys a painting, I would say don't put it in your trunk in 85-degree weather.
Good advice.
It would soften.
Well, same with the watercolor, because the heat hitting the glass would create condensation
and ruin it. Yeah.
And ruin it. So be careful with your art. What is this large piece that you brought us?
Okay. This is called CLE.
I can see why.
And this is it's mixed media.
Yep.
And it has a little bit of copper leaf in it. I like to use that in sunsets. And it's just my impression of Cleveland, kind of a tribute to Cleveland.
I see the air show, I see the stadium, I see the lakefront, Playhouse Square. This is fabulous.
The industrial area, the flats. And you can use stencils with encaustic, and that's what made this three-dimensional. You just keep layering on.
So those letters are actually layers and layers of wax. And I don't know if you can actually see it, but they're fairly thick. I almost thought they were cut out of cardboard and glued on. Nope, all wax.
Yeah.
Cleveland. Very, very nice piece here. This piece is on cradle board? Or
right. This is a wood cradle board also.
Okay.
And actually, it's framed in scrap lumber also.
So you do your own framing?
Yeah, I like to put a frame on them. A lot of encaustic artists don't. But if you're going to shows or packing up for galleries, I like to put an edge to protect the edge.
Sure.
I have a friend who does large encaustic paintings also, and he's constantly repairing the edges because he doesn't frame them.
And as they get carried around, they get banged up a
because he
little bit.
keeps packing and unpacking and carrying them around. So I like to put an edge on. If somebody doesn't like it, it's easily popped off and taken to a framer, and they can have any kind of frame they want.
Well, it's a beautiful finish. I mean, even these pieces, the way you've mounted the piece within the frame is a very nice look.
Thank you.
Very finished look to that. So it looks, and now you have another very, very large piece. Well, not very, very large, but.
Well, this is a 16 by 20. This is called Glimmer. And I used copper and gold leaf in this one. I just wanted to show the reflection on the water.
Yeah, so I see the gold and I'm looking for the copper leaf. There is so much texture in these dark blue weeds along the shoreline. Very, very nice. And I know, I have seen your work in shows, and an encaustic can be entered into any show, but not water media? Or?
Right. They're kind of confused about where to put it. Most shows put it in mixed media.
Okay.
Some shows will put it in oil.
Yeah.
But there is no, locally at least, and in some of the smaller shows, there isn't a category for encaustic.
When you said oils, it made me remember a question I had for you. When you're doing these, you cannot use acrylic paints for the colors.
No. It has to be oil. Acrylics will curdle up.
Mm-hmm.
I made a mistake once. I was trying to make some encaustic paint, and I grabbed the wrong tube.
Okay.
And it was acrylic, and it curdles. So you can actually make encaustic paint by putting oil paints on like paper towels and leaching out a lot of the oil, the linseed oil, and then taking that paste and mixing it with encaustic medium over heat and blend it well, and I put it in ice cube trays.
So you're making your own, actually,
if I want a lot of variety in color, then I'll do that.
And you say encaustic medium, and I realize I've been referring to it as wax. Not the same?
No, encaustic medium is beeswax, usually clarified or bleached, mixed with Demar resin, and that's what hardens it.
Ah, okay.
Okay, and that actually has to be filtered and cooked. Then the medium is mixed with pigment to make encaustic paints.
This suddenly got a lot more complicated.
Yes, it is. That's why I buy most of my encaustic paint.
I can see why now, because by the time you got the Demar varnish,
the
or no,
resin.
and boiled that down. Yeah.
Right.
So we're buying it ready to go.
We're buying it, yeah.
Yeah, smart.
I know some people who work on very large pieces.
Yeah.
It's probably more economical for them to make their own, because a 10-pound bag of encaustic medium is about $200.
Wow.
And a little block of encaustic paint, which is about 40 milligrams, is anywhere from $10 to $30. Depends on the color.
Different colors have different pricing.
Because the pigments cost more.
Right, right, yeah. I've seen that in every medium.
Yes.
Yeah, so. Oh, no, we didn't talk about this beautiful piece here. Thank you for bringing so many. What do we have here?
Well, this is called Tidal. And I did a series that I wanted to look like the Caribbean Sea, you know.
That beautiful
with the
blue.
The sea foam. And I used clear, not varnish.
Medium? Clear?
All right, now I lost the word.
That's okay, that happens.
Shellac.
Okay.
Okay, shellac has a high alcohol content, and it burns when you set it on fire. So I painted the colors on, and then I sprayed clear shellac over the whole thing and set it on fire. And what it did was it looked more like water churning.
I need to take, oh my, that's,
see?
Yes, I see.
And you can see it when you change the angles.
Yeah, that is. So now you've got varnish and you've got wax. Now we've got fire. Tell me about your studio. Where are you doing this work?
Well, I have to say I was a little nervous when I first started using a torch. I started using a heat gun. The problem with a heat gun, and we're talking commercial heat guns that get very high temp, is it blows the wax. When it gets the wax smooth, like this, if you're not careful, it'll blow it.
So you've got a puddle and it's...
So you have to get really good at using the heat gun so that if you want a smooth finish, it doesn't start puddling or blowing off the board.
And bubble. I remember it bubbling on me. Yeah. Bubbling.
Yeah, with the heat gun, I hit it and I take it away, hit it, take it away to get rid of the bubbles. I started using a torch when I got braver, and I just used a piece of cement board.
Okay.
Okay, so it's not flammable. And you get a lot more consistent, controlled results, which doesn't seem like it would be, but you actually do, because you can vary the flame.
You are just passing that flame back and forth over the wax surface at that point. And in your house, is this?
But I have a piece of cement board.
Okay.
You know, some people use plasterboard.
Right.
I just have some Durock,
right,
like you would use under tile.
All right. Something, fireproof.
Something fireproof.
Fireproof.
And always be aware of where the flame is pointed.
And where the water is.
Yeah. I haven't had any issues. I'm surprised. And once you start using the torch, you get very brave with it. They call it shellac burn, when you put shellac on a piece and then you set it on fire. You can add pigment to clear shellac and get all kinds of wonderful effects. Are
you still teaching this method?
Yes.
Out of your home now because of COVID, or in the park? Or
when they say people can go out,
you will be.
I was teaching at Peninsula Art Academy, and out at Artisans Corner Gallery in Newbury, and I think we're going to have a class in Newbury in July.
So you're on Facebook, and you have a website, so you'll update those and let people know. When.
Right. I update whatever shows I might be going to, or galleries I'm in, or where there's a class coming up on the website under coming events. And I try to update the Facebook page with new pieces.
Yes. I've been on your, I was there this morning.
Oh, okay.
That's how I saw the puppies.
Yeah. Well, I threw those in because people were so down, with everything going on. And I thought, you know what? People need a puppy fix.
A puppy fix is nothing like cute puppies.
So now what I've been doing is once a week, as the puppies grow, I post a new video of the puppies.
I love this. And have you done encaustics of the puppies?
No. You know why? It's very hard to paint black dogs.
Yes. I've learned that the hard way, though, actually, with trying to paint 3 Newfoundlands. Yeah, they just look like 3 piles in the corner.
Yeah, you have to end up using a lot of highlights. In fact, even when I photograph, I breed them. And when I photograph them for people, to show what they look like, I do it in the dead of winter when there's a lot of snow.
Right.
Because there's a lot of reflected light.
A lot of light. So it's all about the eyes and the little tongue, right? Yeah. Well, your puppies are darling. Your birds are beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. And your landscapes are just fabulous. So thank you for coming. And the best part is we have a video that you did for us ahead of time, and you're going to show us the process and explain in the video what you're doing. And
it shows the process of carving into the wax and then putting the oil stick on top to get into all the indentations and then wiping it off.
And then the heat gun and all of that.
I think I have fusing on there too.
And you're fusing on there.
Because every layer has to be fused.
Each time, each time. Well, thank you for coming, because it's just absolutely beautiful and unique, really unique.
Thank you.
And I do appreciate it. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. So now I've taken my RNF pigment stick and I've smeared it all over the bottom, and then I rubbed it in. And then I took some coconut oil and rubbed it on so that I could get the RNF pigment stick off more easily. And this time I used, instead of a green or a black pigment stick, I used indigo. I go through a lot of paper towels. And the more of the pigment stick I take off the surface, the brighter it will get. This is the coconut oil. And the more I leave in the grooves that I carved in there, the darker and the more contrast there'll be. It really highlights the dimension. Whenever I'm teaching a class and I start smearing oil stick all over the painting, students usually gasp. And they're thinking, what is she doing? Why did she ruin it? So that's the effect you get. You can see how it goes into all the little grooves in the texture, even around in here. It goes around the flowers and gives them more depth. It just makes it a more finished piece. This technique is called incising, when you carve into the wax. Now, after I'm finished cleaning off as much of the oil stick as I want, then I'll fuse the piece again. And what I'm trying to do is make sure my flowers are not obscured by the oil stick, but I still have that depth. There you go. Now, if I want, I can take oil stick and smear it on my hands and just rub it in different areas where I want a little more shading. Or I can leave it as is. I do have a spot up here where I put a couple birds. A lot of times I'll rub it in the sky, especially indigo, to make it look like a stormy sky. Okay, now I'll take this piece and I will hang it up for a while, get a fresh view of it, and decide whether I need to change anything, add anything, or take anything away.